All right, good second day. You know, we got more reps today. We pushed the tempo of practice a little bit more. Some fatigue showed up. You want to do that today before you get a little bit of a break because we're about to have some time. So you really want to push guys' bodies. And you saw that. You see how guys respond to fatigue. It was a good day. It was a good day of work. Guys worked really hard, and it was certainly a positive.
A year ago, the interior defensive line, you had 3 guys who were hurt with shoulder injuries, multiple guys who hadn't transferred in yet. It was just a really thin group. How different is this spring already, and how different will it be the next several weeks where it's just a very different position to be in to develop those guys this year compared to last year?
Yeah, I mean, really similar to what I said last practice. We're able to do 2-spot practices now. We're able to have basically practices on 2 fields, get a lot of guys reps and ready, and that's what it takes. You got to get better at football, you got to play football. So having guys out there that can rotate where it's not just about conditioning, but it's about technique, that's starting to show up.
What do you stress to these guys the most over the next 2 weeks to kind of stay in that shape and stay in that mindset?
Yeah, you got to be disciplined, right? You got to be great decision makers. Have a sound mind in what you're doing and how you're attacking it. We have a plan for these guys over the next 2 weeks. They have to execute the plan, right? It's where ownership takes place.
Are there any 1 or 2 newcomers that made any strides from day 1 to day 2 in your mind?
I'll have to watch the tape and see. Certainly there's some guys working out hard there, but I don't know if I could pick anybody out.
Dan, how do you feel the group of early enrollees is adjusting to the college atmosphere?
Yeah, I think they're handling it really well. I think we got a great transition team, too, when it goes with the prep, with school and football. We got a great group of coaches. We have a detailed plan with what we do, so those guys have handled it well.
Are you expecting more of your enrollees to come in when you guys regroup?
Yeah, we'll see a few more. I don't have an exact number, but we'll see a few more guys come back after spring break when the next term starts.
And you have a couple of guys in.
The new norm, I think you have over 25 new guys right now.
It's probably the new norm in college football, right? I think it's probably the new norm in college football. There's going to continue to be change, and some guys will come, some guys will go, but we're always going to do everything we can to enhance our program.
But getting in this early, is that?
Yeah, you want guys here as fast as you can. That's not always going to happen. There's some guys that we'd love that we could have here early, but the more you can get here early, it's like having an additional redshirt year for guys that are brand new.
For Junior and Justin, who are coming off injuries last year, just how limited are they at the start of spring? Are they full go?
Yeah, Junior's limited. Justin's been able to do really everything with us come spring ball.
At Pro Day, Bennett said that he thought that Evan would come in here and have kind of a leadership role, even though he's coming into a new guy on the team. How do you think he's kind of stepped into that so far?
Been really pleased with what he's looked like so far. I don't think he's been extremely boisterous, but his actions have spoke really loud. His preparedness when he gets on the field, guys willing to ask questions, and then ultimately he runs really hard to the ball. That solves a lot of problems.
Talk about Jeffrey Bossa becoming more of a teacher. Is there anyone else who transitioned from a learning perspective last year now to becoming more of a teacher?
Yeah, I think there's several guys. I don't know that I could pick just one out, but yeah, there's a bunch of guys that have done a really good job there.
In the off-season assessment, and particularly back in January, Dan, just what you and Joe come up with by way of areas to address on special teams, not just at any one position, but particularly all the coverage teams, all the return teams. What were some of those areas that you're trying to fix up?
You said it, coverage team area. Location of the kick's a big piece that's going to help you in every return unit. Or in every kick unit, right? If you kick the ball in the right location, it's going to help your coverage teams out on kickoff and on punt. We got to get better in both those areas, but we can also get better at the units as far as the bodies that we're putting on there to have success to tackle the runner. So I think there's, really all phases, right? It's all been assessed. Drilling it a little bit differently at times as well, but making sure more than anything we get guys in the right position to execute the job.
You said after the last practice that you were looking for guys that can play football. Specifically, when you're looking at that, what certain things are you looking for from the players to determine whether they can play football and really develop into this scheme that you guys want to get to by the end of spring?
Yeah, more than it's different by each position, right? Obviously, if you're a defensive guy, you got to be able to get guys on the ground, which means you have to put your body in position to where you can get guys on the ground. If you're an offensive guy, you got to be able to catch the ball, right? You got to be able to control the ball, cover up guys as a blocker, hand placement, footwork. But really, more than anything, across the board, it's how you play with relentless effort. Right? If you can't play fast, you can't play football.
And Hunter specifically, when that was such an issue last season, when you bring in a guy like Luke, what does he have to show in these 15 practices to where you can leave spring feeling confident that job's kind of solidified?
Yeah, consistency, and then it's different when you start to see some pressure too, right? It's easier to kick on air than it is to kick when somebody's running in your face, and we have to create some of those moments.
What's the challenge of recruiting? What's the challenge of recruiting someone like Luke when he's halfway across the world and building those relationships?
Well, that's the real challenge, right? They're halfway across the world. You got to do it through the phone, and you don't necessarily get to see them, and they don't necessarily get to see you. So there's some trust on both ends.
What's the strategy of having 2 practices and then waiting a couple of weeks? Like, why not just do it all in April? Like, what's the thought process?
Yeah,
behind it?
for us, it's about spacing, right? You like to go Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday for practices. We don't want to go into May because we have a recruiting window in May that we want to be able to get our coaches out in May. And then, truly, it kind of gives a build-up. I think it makes our players think about this a little bit on spring break rather than rolling in. We did a lot of walkthroughs going in. But, yeah, just more than anything, it's timing with where the recruiting windows fall.
Dan, what's your philosophy on players who are currently committed to Oregon taking visits to other schools? Do you encourage that? Do you want these guys to get out and see all the places they can, or what's your philosophy there?
Yeah, there's a lot of, I think each situation is different. Certainly we love having committed players be committed to us and not take trips other places, but they need to know where they're going when it's all said and done, and they have to have a great feel for that. It's our job to continue to recruit them to be here. Like I said, I think I've said before, I probably wasn't my wife's first choice, but over time I won her over. We got to do the same thing when it comes to recruiting, right? And just continue to keep doing that same thing.
With a team that has so many newcomers, but also a lot of veterans that have been in the game long, that have been under this kind of system, mixed with the new staff members, just how do you see everyone kind of coming together, working together in order to build a good foundation with these first spring practices?
Yeah, it's a process. It's over time. We're not there yet, right? But we have time to get there, and that's the benefit. Practices that are hard, that gets us there, right? You got to share some hard moments and then spend time together outside of football.
Will the coaching staff be taking any staff trips or visiting with any staffs these next couple of weeks?
We'll be doing some professional development, more in-house than anything, some Zooms and things like that, but mostly here.
And you've got your coaches clinic right after break and
In
on
April,
Saturday,
yeah.
with Staley and Moore and Tasha's former DC there with Jacksonville coming in. So just what are you hoping to get out of it? Obviously, yes, you have coaches here, etc. But when you have big name guys from the NFL in particular, what are you hoping that weekend provides?
The name doesn't necessarily change anything for us. We just want to have an opportunity for us to learn ball as a coaching staff and some coaches to be able to come in and absorb some stuff from us, and as well as the great coaches that we have coming to speak.
Do you have any early impressions of Grant Meadors and how he's come in and kind of learned under the wing of Camden Lewis?
He actually got a little bit of a tweak, so he hasn't been able to full go kick here recently in winter conditioning, so time will tell. Not there yet.
There's an interesting piece of legislation in the State House that would hold you responsible potentially for the actions of 50,000 people at Autzen Stadium. How would you feel about that if you got suspended for the words of one of 50,000 people?
Let's tell them to be behaved. I guess you guys can help me out there. Control what you can control, right? All right. Appreciate you guys.